everyone. Sorry we're a couple minutes late. We have some exciting things going on for today's board meeting, so we were just prepping in the back, so apologize for being colleagues, and I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to damage and destruction and ultimately save lives. Next, yesterday I was pleased to host a Black History Month panel and breakfast with Montgomery County staff. It was an uplifting and empowering way to start our Wednesday morning. I want to thank our panelists, my esteemed colleagues Terrence Barnes, Angela Bell, Charles Clark, Doug Coppin, Laura Gonzalez, and Lauren Hughes. We were also joined by our Chief of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Donna Richmond, our Head of Health and Human Services, Dr. Tamara Williams, Tina Lawson, our newly appointed or elected Register of Wills, Dr. Janine Darby, our newly elected coroner, as well as my governing partners. I have a special thanks to the Honorable Judge Garrett Page for singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, and to all the staff who joined us in person and online. I thought it was a very inspirational event to hear from our speakers and panelists as they shared their stories, their role models, and their paths to working here in the county. I hope that you all in the community can host, I hope you all can join our other Black History Month programs. We have one in person next Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to hosting several of these types of events to hear the voices of our county employees in the days and months ahead. And so our next program, as I mentioned, will be Wednesday, February 28th at 11:30 a.m. in the community room, first floor at 1430 DeKalb Street in Norristown. And this will be a celebration of African American contribution to arts and will include music, singing, and most importantly, food. Lastly, I want to talk about our whole home repairs program that we are excited to launch today. As county commissioners, one of our responsibilities is to support our most vulnerable. The whole home repair program strategically targets Montgomery County's low-income households who have deferred repairs to keep a roof above their heads. This state-funded program will allow Montgomery County to provide grants of up to $50,000 to homeowners to make their homes more structurally sound, energy efficient, accessible, and safe. For example, the grants could be used for accessibility modifications for a homeowner living with a disability, repairing damaged or exposed roofs, repairing broken and unsanitary plumbing, or upgrading old windows. This is truly an opportunity to help people upgrade their homes and help people stay in the homes that they love. And I know the importance of this so well as I think about my parents, and they are still in my childhood home that we moved to 40 years ago. Both of them are disabled and trying to maintain a home and make sure that it's safe and sound and making the necessary updates that they need to make is something that keeps them up at night thinking about ways in which they can do that. So I'm so excited that we'll be able to help our friends and neighbors in the community really make the necessary adjustments to their home. So, and Kaylee Silver, who's here with us, I see her nodding, so my comments are okay.
Our serious obligations and commitment to adapt and create resilient communities that can withstand the effects of climate change. And that goes hand in hand with the work that we are doing with the Park Yeoman watershed and Representative Webster's leadership in securing that $1 million grant to survey flooding. Once we understand the consequences of that, then we're going to need even more funding and more initiatives to help address the flooding and make sure that people are not left behind, because one of the issues with climate is that when we see these severe weather events, as we know with the affordable housing we lost in Bridgeport and in other areas, they disproportionately impact those who are already being left behind in many ways. So we very much see this as an initiative and commitment to equity as well as addressing climate. Second thing I just want to talk about is I went on a tour of SEPTA's Control Center yesterday. They received a $317 million grant, the largest federal investment in SEPTA ever, which is really something to celebrate. And there are significant commitments to be made in transportation, but I think that was a really big win. So I want to congratulate former Commissioner Ken Lawrence in his leadership at SEPTA, and Leslie Richards as well on that. And then finally, to announce our Way to Go winners, I don't know if this is on here, these are county staff who we want to recognize for their excellent work, who were nominated by their peers. First, Christopher Barang, deputy in the Sheriff's Office. He's someone who's always seen as giving a helping hand, who works with and in the community, especially during community events above and beyond his job. Second, Matthew Meese. He's a correctional officer at the correctional facility. He's a key officer in running the facility and beyond the scope of his duties, keeping citizens of Montgomery County as well as the correctional staff safe. He's seen as a pillar of the admissions and discharge section of the facility. Suzanne Murdick is a district court clerk in District Court 38-121. Her nominator said that she has an extraordinary attention to detail and handles the most complicated situations with ease. is someone who her entire team can rely on. Thank you, Suzanne. There's Megan Wygant, Assistant Supervisor in Domestic Relations. Megan is seen as one of the great assets of the Domestic Relations Department, and for mispronouncing her name, I will meet you and congratulate you in person. I know she's not here right now. But as your nominator told us, years of your experience combined with your tech savvy has been an extraordinary boon to that office, so thank you for your service. And then finally, Park Ranger Walter Wood. He's in our Parks, Trails, and Historic Sites section, as you can imagine, and and on one occasion, among many others, I'm sure, we have to recognize that in the state farm park, in the Norristown Farm Park, he came across a man who was exhibiting signs of a stroke. He identified those signs and played a role in saving his life. So the family member of that individual reached out to particularly make note of that. So we thank him for his service in the parks. So with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner DeBello.
Thank you. I want to echo my excitement about the home repairs program as well, and thank everyone who's worked on it so far. I mean, it's an exciting opportunity. Some other counties have already had this initiative underway and have had some really good success with it, so I'm looking forward to the success that we're going to see in Montgomery County. It's really to ensure that the residents of Montgomery County, especially households with young children and seniors and individuals with disabilities, can keep their homes safe and functioning. And the impact of this program will be long-ranging. Homeowners can use the grants to make their homes more energy efficient, which can lower their utility bills. And since our region has had some of the oldest houses stocked in the nation, it's an opportunity to update the homes for future generations as well. Point out as well, there's at Green Lane, they'll be hosting 3 environmental education programs in March 24. On Saturday, March 2nd, there's Maple Sugar Magic program. We'll explore the history of maple sugar and bring your pancakes as well, because on Saturday, March 9th, join the regularly scheduled Waterfowl Watch program to search for migrant and resident birds and learn why the park is one of Eastern Pennsylvania's premier birding sites. And on March 24th, families can dye Easter eggs naturally, just like your grandparents did, using materials from the nature. At Pennypacker Mills, a Pennypacker Mill in Schranksville, on Saturday, March 16th, join the Spring Craft Workshop, which is especially great for kids and young families. And finally, the Pottsgrove Manor in Pottstown on Saturday, March 16th. There will be a new exhibit called the Free Black Iron Workers of Montjoy Forge. You'll see a presentation on the free black workers who made this community their home and then can explore the new exhibit, which includes iron-made goods that they personally handled. For more information at these events and other great happenings, visit our county website. I also wanted to bring up, unfortunately, we've seen some disturbing news in the last few days regarding one of our sheriff deputies in Montgomery County, and I want to say it's unfortunate, but also one individual does not define our sheriff's department or our sheriff's deputies. We have an amazing staff here in Montgomery County. They are extremely hardworking and very dedicated to our community and the courthouse and doing their job. So I just want to keep and point that out, because one bad apple never spoils the whole bunch, and I don't want, because I've been getting calls and been hearing from people regarding this one instance, regarding one individual that unfortunately was arrested and wasn't even within Pennsylvania, it was in New Jersey. So I stand with our sheriff's department and our sheriff's deputy, and I encourage everyone to do the same, because it's extremely important. And finally, I did want to, 2 things I wanted to mention is, this is a great opportunity for us to maybe, I mentioned at one of our previous meetings, I met with some individuals from Laura House and Mission Kids. I requested that we should do what I feel is extremely important topic of human trafficking, especially with children, that's going on in Montgomery County and across the state and country. And they have a lot of really good information. And I think we need to bring their awareness out in the community so they actually understand what's going on. And on a positive note, I spent yesterday, I was toured the 911 and dispatch center. Amazing staff over there. I mean, again, really dedicated, and their work environment is stressful at times, but they are up to the challenge and they are doing an incredible job. And the good news is that they're always hiring. So if you're looking to provide some service back to our community, it's a great opportunity to work at the 911 and dispatch center. You get a lot of training. It's a very competitive starting salary. And I encourage anyone that's looking for a new career and a rewarding career helping our community, please check out the opportunities there. And also across the street, we also toured the prison. And was also good to hear is that our prison population is actually down. So that means good things are happening in Montgomery County. But again, we have staff over there that works extremely hard for the community, protecting us and doing their job. And then sometimes they're working in tough conditions, but they're also up to the challenge. And I commend everyone working in the prison, Montgomery County Prison, for everything that they're doing as well. So these are people, they're our friends, our family, and our neighbors. And if you know that this is where they work or this is the job that they're doing, please thank them. Always thank our first responders and our police and sheriffs as well for everything that they do. But also, you know, give a little shout out to some of our, what I'll say, forgotten. Sometimes you don't know who's on the other side of the phone, but please reach out. If you know anybody, support them and thank them for their service. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to get is that this weekend?
Whatever, it's next weekend, I think. But
Okay,
yeah,
next
let's go
weekend.
get
All right, let's
pancakes
do
and
it.
go for,
I prefer waffles, and you
hey,
can bring the
the
pancakes.
syrup still works.
Okay. All right, thanks for those comments. So first up, I'd like to invite George Whitehair, the Executive Director of the Boston Legacy Foundation, and Dr. Francis J. Raj to the podium. So they're going to take a moment to tell us a little bit about Dr. Boston.
Sure.
Yes? And the reason we invited them to come today in the spirit of Black History Month, we wanted to take note of Dr. Boston and his impact on, you know, STEM and medicine in Montgomery County. And oftentimes when we think about our heroes and the people that we read about in history books, Dr. Boston doesn't always rise to the top. So if you could take a little bit of time, tell us a little bit about Dr. Boston, the work that you're doing with your new documentary film, and then we'll present you with the proclamation.
Great. Well, thank you, commissioners, and welcome everybody. We started this project, I guess, about 3 years ago. Dr. J. Raj, who most people in Montgomery County knows, he's a retired pediatrician, mentioned to me that an African-American had started a hospital that is now the Lansdale Jefferson Hospital. An African-American also started the VMSC Ambulance Corps almost 100 years ago. There's a monument at 7th and Broad Street that I myself drove by many, many times. I did not know it was dedicated to an African-American doctor. So we started this project, and the more research we did, it became fascinating. What we learned is him and his brother were both medical doctors at the turn of the last century. In fact, his brother Samuel graduated from Penn in 1898. Almost unheard of, even today, to have a family have two medical doctors. These were two African-American brothers, again, over 100 years ago. He is the first to start a hospital and ambulance corps together anywhere in the country. He traveled overseas. He became the vice president of the Vienna Medical Society during the 50s, right up to his death. And the more we started researching this incredible story, we were saying, my God, why doesn't anyone know about this? And it's not just an African-American story, it's an American story. So Val Arkush, the former commissioners, have been very supportive. Our governor honored him, our senators have honored him, and I'm happy to report this month the Department of Defense profiled Dr. Boston as its story for Black History Month. So we are honored to come share this. We are working on a documentary. And the whole purpose of the documentary is we want the story known. And now that the DOD and the Army and the VFW have picked up the story, we are confident that everyone around the country will know this is an incredible Montgomery County hero, Pennsylvania hero, and benefits, to this day, all of us. Somebody you know has either been treated by the ambulance or the hospital many times in this area. I also credit Dr. J. Raj, because both of us, along with a third young woman, Uli Mata Sal, she's in law school. She is actually an immigrant from Senegal, and she is the third member of our team. And Uli used to knock them dead at all of our talks, but then she went off to law school. So I lost one of my best spokesperson, but we are very proud of her. I think she's actually going to be working for the Office of the Governor this summer as an intern. So we are very proud of her, and she represents really the embodiment of what we're trying to accomplish by pushing the story. So again, thank you, Doc. You want to add anything to that, Dr. J. Raj?
Actually, you said very well, John. Again, Commissioner Winder, Commissioner Makija, Commissioner DiBello, it's a tremendous privilege, for us to be invited here to say a few words, and also thank all the fellow citizens of Montgomery County. I was actually a beneficiary of what Dr. Boston did. As George said, who would have thought, in the early 1930s, an Afro-American physician from Philadelphia, who was a World War I veteran, comes all the way to Lansdale. Remember, in 1930 you're talking about. Founded the Volunteer Medical Service Corps, the ambulance corps that is, and also the Lansdale Hospital, which at that time was called Elm Terrace Hospital, which today I'm very proud to wear this badge, Jefferson Abington Lansdale Hospital. Two of my girls were born at that hospital. I've been a part of that medical staff, physicians, for almost 50 years. And very few people know, anywhere, not in Montgomery County, not in the state, not in the country, that actually creation is not the right of any one group, anyone, given the opportunity, and that's what it's all about. So it's an honor, not just to us, Jamila, but also to Dr. Boston, who really did not get the credit that he needed, during his lifetime. And thanks a lot to everybody.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for. George, I've asked you a lot of questions about Dr. Boston, and I asked you about his family, and he died childless.
Correct.
Right? And so it's amazing that, the two of you and the team have picked up his story, because preserving legacy, right, is so critical, right? So we know where we came from. It will help chart where we're going next. And so thank you for picking up preserving his legacy. And I look forward to the documentary, because I love a good documentary film.
That's it.
So we'll invite you up to present the proclamation and take a quick photo.
All right.
Sure, and let me just say,
Go ahead.
George, you mentioned a lot of folks know Dr. J. Raj. I just want to clarify, most of them were his patients as well. So even the House Majority Leader, I was saying, I was going to meet you, and he was like, oh, he was my pediatrician too. So just want to thank you for your 50 years of service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Boston.
There we go. That's great.
Thank you.
We have Dr. J. Raj.
You want to come up here? Okay. Yeah, there we go. Colin, I think you got a lot of pictures. Good, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you, everybody, for letting us have this moment here to try to honor this doctor. And look for our film, and you'll learn more about it. Thank you. Thank you.
My paparazzi right here in the front.
I know, I'm like, we gotta start breaking into Vogue
I
poses.
know, I know. All right, so next up, we're gonna invite our prothonotary. I saw him in the back and some of his great team to talk about protection from abuse. Very sobering topic, but an important one nonetheless. So take it away.
It is indeed. Thank you, Commissioners. It is an honor to be here in front of you today and to be able to speak to you and the residents of Montgomery County. For those watching or in the room who do not know me, my name is Noah Marlier, and I am your Montgomery County prothonotary. And the prothonotary's office, for those of you who don't know, is where you file legal papers with the county. Almost every civil legal filing comes through the prothonotary's office. So before you might have an attorney, certainly before you are able to see a judge, you got to file a legal paper, and those legal papers are filed in the prothonotary's office. We have one specific unit dedicated to protection from abuse. These are called restraining orders in other states. They're called PFAs here in Pennsylvania. And it is such a crucial part of what we do in the prothonotary's office. As you see on the screen, the prothonotary's office has over 100 different filing types, almost 150 kinds of filing types. And my staff is really incredible and well-trained in being able to take those filing types. But we receive 30 to 50 petitions specifically for PFAs a week. So that's a number. But those are human beings that come into our office, that come to the county seeking help, seeking protection from domestic violence. 30 to 50 a week, sometimes more. Sometimes as many as 20 in a day. And it is sobering, but it is something we need to discuss. And I have taken steps, and the reason why I'm here today before you is I and my office have taken steps to make this process just a little bit easier. We're talking about a situation where people come in literally bruised and battered. They come in one of the hardest times in their life, and they have to spend hours in the courthouse. It is difficult. It is not only addressing a terrible situation, but then they have to relive that situation by going before a judge, talking about what happened, coming back a few days later for a final PFA, talking about what happened, facing their abuser. It's really a challenging thing for these folks. So we have 3 different initiatives there to make it just a little bit easier, hopefully. So the first is an online protection from abuse packet. This is really incredible. This is only done in this way, in this kind of access in Allegheny County. So Montgomery County is the second in the state to have this kind of access. And that access is that instead of coming to the courthouse, and this is the way it's always been done, to get a PFA, you got to come to the courthouse, you got to go to court administration, come down to the prothonotary's office, up to the courtroom, back down to the prothonotary's office, to the sheriff's office. It's a long process. But this is going to cut down on the time, and in fact, we've already seen that it is cutting down on the time that these petitioners, these survivors, have to spend in the courthouse. We're already seeing results. They can fill out the protection from abuse packet access to online services, accessible to the web. And like all great ideas, this came through collaboration. This came through a spark through someone else's idea, frankly. And that was Laurel House. Stacy Doherty and Courtney Marengo, who are here from Laurel House, Courtney Marengo specifically, many conversations encouraging my office to go towards this program. And I want to thank them for the job they do, that Laurel House does, the domestic violence shelter, specifically the job they do in advocating for domestic violence survivors and pushing elected officials like myself to do more. And we were so proud to be able to see this through. I want to thank my first deputy, Lauren Tilger, for all her work on this. It was a Herculean effort to make this happen. I want to thank the DA's office as well for their contributions. Just really an incredible thing. So again, survivors, because of this electronic access, will be able to at least start the petition from home or anywhere they have the internet. The second program is the Hope Card Initiative, the Hope Card program. This is something that's only being done by a handful of states, about 3 or 4 states in the country, mainly out west, Virginia, Idaho, Montana, and now Montgomery County. The Hope Card is basically the final order that someone gets, that a survivor gets, that protection from the courts. but it's reduced to a credit card size. And this is very, very important because that order is a typical size of paper, right? And oftentimes it could be a packet and a number of pages. And to have that order on your person can be challenging. Oftentimes survivors keep that order in their glove compartment or at home in a lockbox. This Hope card will have some of that pertinent information from the Final Protection from Abuse order on it so that they can take that out if they're being stalked or harassed in public. They can go up to a police officer, they can go up to someone and say, hey, I have a PFA, here's my Hope card. And that officer can look up the information based on that information that's on the Hope card. This is good for law enforcement, and it's certainly good for the survivor, making that final order and the information that's on it more accessible. Again, like all great ideas and all important things that governments do, it came from ideas from people smarter, frankly, than me. And I was having coffee with Karen Bramblett. She's a Plymouth council person. She's here in the audience. And this was just over a year ago. And she brought up this idea. She said, Noah, there's this thing that a couple states have, and I think we should be doing it. And I said, absolutely, absolutely we should. So like all good ideas, again, it comes through collaboration and sometimes coffee. And so I'm very grateful to have gotten the idea from Karen Bramblett, who, by the way, was the prothonotary to the Superior Court in a previous life. So she knows how to spell prothonotary and what it is. I'm grateful for that as well. I do want to thank the District Attorney's Office and the Pennsylvania State Police. A big part of this program and this initiative was making sure that our stakeholders had buy-in, right? We don't want a survivor to go up to a police officer with a Hope card and the officer not know what it is, right? So to have the collaboration of Kevin Steele and the support from him and the Pennsylvania State Police as part of this program is just really, really important. I want to thank in my office my second deputy, Carolyn Gillen, who's here as well, my supervisor in the PFA department, Colleen Farrell, who's also here, who helped with this. These, again, will be going out when someone gets a final protection from abuse order. We'll be sending them out weekly. And the third initiative, gosh, it's something that seemingly is so simple, right? But it had never been done. For years, the folks that came to my office to get help from the courts would sit for hours in the hallway across from the women's bathroom. And they oftentimes, vast majority of the times women, oftentimes with children, more than one child, sitting in the hallway, and it's heartbreaking. Because again, this is an extremely difficult time in someone's life, and to have to sit in that hallway in a cold environment, not a welcoming environment at all, it was awful to see. But we've done something about it. We've opened a PFA waiting room. All this took was realizing that our passport office didn't need to be for passports. We've simply moved our passport agent to sit with the rest of our clerks. They didn't need an entire office onto themselves. And having that realization and working with my team, we were able to make the room, instead of for one of our clerks that could be put somewhere else, into a room that was welcoming and positive and vibrant for the petitioners that were here for PFAs, specifically the children that have to spend hours in our courthouse with their parents while they wait for a PFA and wait for them to go in front of the courts. I want to thank my community outreach director, Ann Cornell, for all her efforts with this. Manager, Linda Severson, what an incredible team putting this together. I also want to thank the folks around the county that donated books, donated coloring books and crayons and other things to make this room happen. There's very little expense to the taxpayer. This was simply people out of the goodness of their heart donating items. I specifically want to thank Representative Serrato, Representatives Genst, State Senator Muth, the Norristown Public Library, who facilitated bringing together a lot of books for the children. Recycle, Read, Repeat, a Norristown bookstore. We worked with them, and I want to thank them for their donations as well. So these three initiatives, I just couldn't be prouder of what we're doing in the Prothonotary's office. To me, and I know the commissioners share this sentiment, good government is about focusing on the people. And good government is about focusing on the residents of Montgomery County and every single day waking up and thinking, what can I do for them? That's the job. And I know that the commissioners share in that sentiment, so I want to thank you for this time, having me, and again, it was an honor coming before you. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Noah, and I too know how to spell pathonetary. Now I do. But thank you, in all seriousness, for being here. Thank you to the team. I've been to your office several times, and what a difference. Some of these smaller, and I know the online form was a larger feat, but just little things to make the experience that much better for people in crisis. I want to thank colleagues from Laurel House, especially Courtney. I know the great work that you do, so thank you for being here, and I recognize that you answer the call when people are in crisis 24/7, and so thank you for all that you're doing at the Laurel House. And so look forward to continuing to partner with you on this. I can take no credit for all of these ideas, but let's continue to ideate and iterate on how do we ensure that when people are coming to your office in crisis, how we can make that a better experience for them. And then come up with ways to prevent, right, abuse. So thank you for being here and presenting these new initiatives.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anything?
Yeah, no, I'll just reiterate, I really appreciate your staff taking me through this room and the process of what it looked like before, and I think it's clear you all have a really fantastic approach in putting the people first that you're serving, so I want to thank you, and thank you to Laurel House and the team for bringing this all together, and Karen, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think same pathonetary is half the challenge, so that's a good thing. No, this is a great program. Everything that you laid out this is good to see advancement. One of the things I saw when you showed up the Hope card, does it make sense, or can put a QR code on it that actually would be a faster ability for law enforcement to be able to just hit that and do a link to, instead of, I don't know, it's just an idea. Because I'm trying to take credit for all of this.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm gonna have to.
absolutely, jump in. No, I think that's an idea. I certainly could talk to the district attorneys. I know you all just worked on interconnecting the police departments and funding for that regarding their document services, and that's a fantastic thing, and I think it's one of those things I would need to talk to Kevin Steele about and the Pennsylvania State Police. But
I'm just saying that it might have been, it might not work, I don't know, when I saw it, I said, well, that's a great idea with that card, but it's like, can we take it one step further and throw a QR code on there? I don't know, I just kind of throw it out there. And I'm glad to see it, because that was gonna be one of my questions, how's Laurel House fit into, these changes and also what's going on, and I'm glad to see that they've been engaged in part of all this, so because they're doing an amazing job as well. And I want to thank everyone from your department that have made these advancements, because this is what we're trying to achieve in Montgomery County, working with everyone, is to do everything possible to provide the best services for our community. So thank you for being innovative and actually, sometimes we don't have to invent everything here, right? Sometimes other communities, other counties have great ideas, and we're like, hey, we could do that too. So I'm glad that you're able to reach beyond our borders and take some really good ideas and suggestions. So I want to commend you for that as well. Thank you. Yeah.
And Victim Services in Montgomery County, the Women's Center as well,
Yeah.
and Laurel House, all amazing in tackling this issue that frankly, it touches all of us. It really does.
Yeah.
So,
So no, thank you. Great job.
Thank you all for being here.
thank you, Commissioners. Really appreciate it.
Now, it's a full house. No one could leave. Your part's done, right? Because we want to look like,
All right, I'd like to invite Kaylee Silver up to talk about the whole home repair program. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to talk a little bit more in detail about our application opening today for the Whole Home Repairs Program. Great, thank you so much. So I am pleased to help announce the opening of the Whole Home Repairs Program application, which is opening today in Montgomery County. As of 8 a.m. this morning, our site is live for people to submit applications. People can visit montgomerycountypa.gov/home repairs. The Whole Home Repairs Program aims to provide eligible homeowners in Montgomery County with grants of up to $50,000 per owner-occupied unit to address habitability and safety concerns, provide measures to improve energy or water efficiency, and make units accessible to individuals with disabilities. So for eligibility, applicants must own and live in a home needing repairs in Montgomery County. And household income must not exceed 80% of the area median income as determined by the federal government. So just a quick idea around those numbers: one-person household, that's 62,500 or lower; four-person, it's 89,250 or lower. Commissioner Winder went over some eligible home repairs, so I don't want to repeat, but they can include things like roof and gutter repair and replacement, lead paint, asbestos and mold remediation, foundation repair, water damage repair, HVAC system repair or replacement. Generally speaking, repairs needed and necessary to ensure homes are fit for human habitation and free of hazardous conditions. So the initial application period is open now. We're going to target owner-occupied households. This can include a single-family home, multifamily, duplex, manufactured home, or condo. Depending on availability of funds, in later rounds we may open up to small landlords, but we're also braiding other programs as well, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. That will also help, because we're really excited about how we can leverage this program with preservation and stability of homes throughout Montgomery County in an equitable and targeted way. So based on the funding, the initial round of funding from the state for this particular program, we aim to equitably target about 100 to 150 homes to receive repairs, weatherization, and or improvements. We're really excited again around braiding and expanding upon the impact of this program, and look forward to potential to have future opportunities for more funding for this program from the state. It is anticipated, right, that the need is greater than the current resources, so the amount of applications received will likely exceed our availability of funds. So I want to talk a little bit about our dynamic, targeted, and equitable process for prioritization based on risk factors. So generally speaking, we're going to target households within a Justice 40 census tract, which, if you're not familiar with Justice 40, it's a federal tool out of the U.S. Department of Transportation, which identifies neighborhoods that are disproportionately burdened by climate change, aging housing stock, health inequities, legacy pollution, and other factors. So we have certain blocks and a map on our website to kind of outline those Justice 40 census tract. Also, generally speaking, we hope to prioritize owner-occupied households making 65% or lower of the area median income, households with the presence of young children, older adults age 62 or older, and or persons with disabilities, as well as pre-1978 housing stock. So again, really focusing on habitability, safety, and accessibility related repairs for our homeowners to stay safe inside their homes. But eligible household in all municipalities are welcome to apply, and this is going to be a very dynamic prioritization and very person-centered, and we hope to communicate and work with all of our partners in our programs to increase the scope of this program. So we are going to have, because the need is so much greater than the current resources, we're going to have an initial application period open for a 50-day period, which is today, and closing on April 12th, 2024. We're going to evaluate during that period and also after that period around extending that and opening that, and also being sure that we're hitting those target neighborhoods and target homes. So we're going to be really, really flexible around that. And then of note as well, the home repairs website, which again is montgomerycountypa.gov/home repairs, is going to provide users with a basic overview and accessibility of all Montgomery County administered home repair programs. This includes things like a HUD Healthy Homes program, our Community Development Owner-Occupied Rehab program, our lead hazard control program, which we partner with our Office of Public Health on. So the website will also have information and links on home repair and weatherizations in Montgomery County that's not only administered by us that we can braid, but again, really building that partnership. It'll give information and resources to private, nonprofit, and state entities throughout Montgomery County that also provide home repair, right? So again, we're really happy to help centralize, coordinate, and align on this to have the most homes as possible and get the most repairs as possible. So happy to answer any questions. We're incredibly honored and excited about this program and look forward to its really robust future as well.
Great, thank you so much, Kaylee.
Thank you.
So a couple things on my end. One of the things that I think we have an opportunity to do as a county is be proactive in terms of how we are disseminating information to those that can benefit from this program. So can you talk about any proactive outreach, engagement that you're doing in the community. So, because just putting up a website
Oh,
and
sure.
putting it on our social page is not going to get to our friends and neighbors that need access to this.
I very much appreciate that
Yeah.
question. Yeah, and thank you. A big shout out to our communications director, Megan, as well as working with Sarah here at Montgomery County to connect with our state as well as our municipal leaders to disseminate that information across Montgomery County, but particularly at a local level. So we are not ending our communications or outreach program. We are also having the application available in Spanish and
Out into the community, and so we're really thrilled that Sarah Charles is joining us from the PA Attorney General's office, but Montco is home for her, so she's in Lower Providence, so thrilled to have you on the team, and thanks for working with Kaylee on getting the word out.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually serving as a township supervisor in Lower Providence. I grew up on Ross Road in King of Prussia, went to Upper Marion, did outreach work statewide in all 67 counties, so I'm really excited to come back home and do this work here. I'm very familiar. I worked with the state senate for 8 years, starting with Connie Williams, so back in the day. So I'm really glad to be here and hope to help Montco grow.
Great, thank you for that. Not to put you on the spot. Other comments, questions?
Sure, so thank you, one, for the relatively minor but request that I had to try to make this open today instead of in 4 days. So thank you for making that happen so we could announce it the day of our meeting and make sure people hear about this. I think what we've seen in at least Allegheny County, I understand, is that the wait list, is significant, but it will be helpful to still encourage as many people as possible who are eligible for this and even apply and find out if you're eligible, right? Because once we have a sense of the need and the demand, we can go back to Harrisburg and say, here's our need, right? And I think this was seen as a seed, a significant seed of 150 million the first year and now 50 million in the second budget, is that right?
that is correct.
So depending on what we find out here, we'll get a sense of what the real need is in Montgomery County. So I'm excited to hear about what you're getting in terms of the applications and how we segment those and understand that. I would love to see the map on the Justice 40 census tracts. That sounds really just fantastic because of the prioritization that we're going to be able to accomplish from that. And then, I would just add this last piece on Sarah, who's working away. But we're thrilled to have her on board because this is how we're really going to reach people, is through a robust, external affairs, public engagement office that works both with our local electeds as well as community organizations. So, welcome. Go ahead.
So this is a great program, and I don't think we're going to have to advertise it too much because it's already being talked about around the county with many individuals. We've had it on our website for, what, a year now? Or something like that, it's been announced. So people have been anxious for the kickoff of this program, so that's a good thing. So this is fully and 100% funded by the state, right? So is the plan to exhaust all 150 million the first, are we gonna try to sparse that out, or is there a plan?
Oh, apologies. So 150 million was for the state as a whole. Montgomery County received from the state approximately a little less than 6 million,
6
right?
million, right.
We expect that to go very quickly
Right.
and expend all of it very quickly. Of note as well, part of that, the state is requiring us to also invest in workforce development. So we're have partnered closely with Jenny Butler, and we'll be doing some workforce development programs related to construction and home repairs as well.
So is this coming out of the same pot?
Yes, it is the state's ARPA funding.
Right, okay,
Yes.
so, because, is there a limit of how much somebody could ask for?
Yes, the grants are up to $50,000 per
Up to
year.
$50,000?
Yes.
Because some of the things you talked about, like just with lead remediation and all that, could be quite expensive, so.
Yeah, which is why we're also excited, right, to consolidate and braid the funding, right? We're very excited about this program, but we're also not isolating it, right? So it is being joined with other programs that my office, the Office of Public Health, have applied to HUD to receive, such as a lead remediation program, right?
Right.
So it gives us the opportunity that if we have a home where repairs may exceed $50,000, but part of those repairs needed is lead remediation, we can go into the other program, right? So
Right.
potentially households can receive more funding and more support. We're just braiding different programs
Right.
together.
And that's great to know.
Yeah.
So, well, I look forward to hearing about, the first couple that go out, and I'm assuming there's gonna be a process in place to track the spending of, how the money's spent and
Yes.
the results of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll be really excited to see when those first go out and what, I mean, so I'd love for you to come back at some point to kind of give an update on, we've put out X number of dollars to date, this is what we've seen as far as, improvements made and, just kind of, so I look forward to an update like that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just one final piece. What is the timeline, you think, from like actually getting funds out the door?
Great question. We expect them to go very, very quickly, likely, there is a factor around here around availability of construction and materials that we have a little less control over, right? So that's kind of the unknown factor in there. Assuming all things going well in that arena where we don't have control over, we will likely see these funds gone before the end of this calendar year.
And can we make sure that when the funds are exhausted, that we actually communicate that on the website or something like that? So people don't
absolutely.
think that they're applying and then there's nothing happening, so after the funds are gone. But like, I agree that, this will be a great case study for us to be able to go back to Harrisburg in the near future, once we start to see the program rolling and hopefully try to get, additional funds in the upcoming years as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that loops back as well to Commissioner Winder's, right, a question around communication and outreach. We definitely have a finger on that. Very grateful and thankful to work with our Health and Human Services communications, county communications, and Sarah, in order to make sure that
It's a real thrill to be here. As someone that's worked for the county for a long time, I personally lived through some of these buildings and some of the struggles that we had, especially in the courthouse. So I remember thinking the project was hearing rumors and whispers, and to see it come to fruition and to look out that window and see the building rising out of the ground is really exciting, and I'm happy to report on the project for you. What I'd like to do today is go through 4 steps. I want to talk about where the project originated. And when I say that, it's how it came to be, how the development happened. Secondly, I'd like to talk about the progression, how the project was managed, how it was put together when we started to build the project, where we are today, and then steps that we're looking forward to going forward. So if we can move to the next slide. Project development. Dating back to 2013 and 2014, it was determined that we needed a plan for downtown campus. County officials were receiving comments, complaints, concerns about operations and buildings within Montgomery County. We knew that there needed to be, or county administration knew that there needed to be an investment at that point into this campus. The question was how to do that. Next slide. County officials developed a county campus redevelopment plan. The plan involved a number of downtown projects. We're talking about 1 today or 2, focusing on making our downtown operations more efficient, safe, and convenient. There was also a goal of modernizing county assets to serve residents far into the future and to spur development in Norristown. We could have the next slide. So what were some of those concerns? Why was this plan needed? I'd like to break it down into 4 distinct areas. The first being, I'm just going to read from the slide. County and court administration operations are inefficiently distributed across campus satellite facilities, and additions to historic courthouse have complicated circulations. Now that's somewhat of a mouthful. More simply stated, the current assets do not serve the operations of the departments at the downtown campus. We have departments spread across multiple buildings. We have, for example, the district attorney's office is working out of this building as well as the courthouse, multiple floors on this building. We have court operations operating in both buildings at this point. We have judicial chambers, we have actual courtrooms, we have court reporters stationed in both locations. We have courtrooms in both buildings. We have other departments across the county spread that should have a foothold in the downtown campus. So that was another part of the thinking that went into this project, was departments that are housed at the HSC building should probably be here at the downtown site. All of these considerations went into the desire to come up with a plan for how to move forward with this project. If we could move to the next slide. In addition, well, actually going back, in addition to just those things being uncomfortable or not enough size, there are major safety and circulation concerns with how the current setup is operated. So when you have that number of departments and those different type of operations working within 2 sites, you have different levels of security. You have different protocols that must be in place for whether it's judges, whether it's people visiting the courthouse, whether it's employees, whether it's law enforcement officials. All of these people are mixed into the current setup, and it creates challenges for security. It creates challenges for circulation. It should be noted that our security department and our sheriffs are doing a wonderful job with the hand that they've been dealt. You know, we are safe, we are doing it right, but it could be much, much better and more efficient with a new design for circulation, with new buildings, with new assets. Now we can move to the next slide, please. There is, actually moving back, I'm sorry, I'm not used to the slide here. Number 2, the current buildings, as well as being functionally inadequate, they're deteriorating. We identified massive problems with water infiltration within the courthouse, within this building. People that worked in that building know that there are areas that were wet on a routine basis. We had a courthouse garage that had a number of parking areas that were completely inaccessible to the employees due to water infiltration into the building. It created a hazardous condition, and it was something that needed to be addressed. Next slide, please. Another factor was the improvement of Hancock Park. Give me a moment. To say it nicely, Hancock Park was an inhospitable and underutilized public space. The picture alone lends itself to that statement. It's not inviting. You know, I worked in that building for a long time. It was underutilized. It was not something that would attract people to the county seat. Part of the plan was to renovate the park and make it an inviting situation that would attract people to Norristown and spur development in Norristown. Next slide, please. Finally, and this goes a little bit along with the second point, is that the courthouse is in rough shape. It is in need of a massive renovation to bring it up to a standard of safety and code that is appropriate for employees working in there moving forward. Back in 2015, a study was conducted that determined that a $180 million investment was necessary to bring that building to where it should be. I use the word refurbished. $180 million to refurbish the building to where it would be operational. That does not address all of the concerns that we've laid out already with circulation issues, with size issues, with parking issues. That would restore or refurbish the building to where it was when it was designed, which is still an inadequate space for the county operations. Next slide, please. With all of these issues on the table, the county developed a plan with defined goals. Now, I want to note that these goals reach far beyond simply adding more courtrooms to the facility. These goals touched on all of the things we've already talked about and encompass a real holistic approach to bettering this site in downtown Norristown. They include plan for the next 100 years, revise the campus to serve as a public destination place for the county, reflect through design and construction the greatness and diversity of other development in Norristown, provide modern, accessible facilities for the people of Montgomery County, promote reasonable development and design practices, and balance security and accessibility. I think this list shows that this was clearly more, this project is more than simply building a bigger building. It's about providing a better environment to the employees, creating an attractive destination for those visiting our sites and Norristown, creating an asset that allows our employees to better serve the residents of Montgomery County. Next slide, please. So it was time to get to work. How did the project progress? The project follows a lean target value design based agreements through which the owner, the architect, the construction manager work in collaboration through the entire design process to align goals with design costs. The county contracted with our architect and design engineer, Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, SOM. We also contracted with Skanska USA, our construction management firm. Skanska was instrumental in developing the plans for the phasing process and the construction documents to bring the project to life. Next slide, please. A primary benefit to this approach is that one of the real desires of Skanska, or the drives of Skanska and the architect, are to, through constructability reviews, reduce the need or the exposure for change orders resulting from design or coordination error. This has actually played out. At this point through our Phase 2 project, we maintain a reasonable change order level of less than 1.5% of total contract value. So by bringing on these entities, they work with our project teams to make sure that we design something that isn't going to run into problems in the future. Next slide, please. Through that process of design, we, along with our architectural team, developed guiding principles. These principles are used and applied to every major decision that takes place through this process. They are timeless. The project should uphold the dignity of the traditions of the court. It should be flexible. I think it's obvious that we've all experienced change in the last couple of years, and we need to be flexible with whatever we build to adapt to those unforeseen circumstances that would change our operations. The project needs to be open. This is a public building. It needs to be inviting. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be safe for those individuals that visit it. It needs to be modern. Along with modern becomes efficient. It needs to be contextual. It's a historic building. There, with dignity and traditions that go along with it being an historic site, we wanted to make sure that through the design process, we built something that meshed with that context. And finally, sustainable. We'll touch on this point a little later, but it's tremendously important if you're going to put that investment into its structure that it is sustainable and that it's something that we can be proud of and we can champion going forward. Next slide, please. So design for construction contracts for the project will be developed into was developed into three phases. Phase 1 was the demolition of the existing garage and park. The contract was awarded in April of 2021. The award was for just under $9.5 million. Anticipated costs for this phase were close to $11 million. The work was completed in March of 2022, almost $1.5 million under budget. Phase 2 is building the new building, the Justice Center addition. This contract was awarded in August of 2021, with schedule showing a tentative completion date of the second quarter of 2025. The award was for $235 million. It should be noted that during that time period, 2019 to 2021, construction inflation ballooned to over 18%. However, bids for the project were approximately 3% over our anticipated costs. And finally, Phase 3, the renovation of the existing courthouse. We are set and working with Skanska to develop our bid documents to begin the procurement process in the second quarter of this year. Our anticipated completion date is late 2026 with an anticipated cost of $92 million. It should be noted that because of the span of time from the time the budget was developed until we go to procurement on that phase of the project, the county does intend to update the project budget prior to finalizing bids for that phase. Next slide, please. This is another look at project implementation, and the point of this slide is to show that the project does in fact span a long period of time. Through those three phases are going from 2020 through 2026, but the budget was developed in 2017. That's a 9-year period. The original project budget of $415 million accounts for the work completed across that entire span of time over those 9 years. Our teams have worked and will continue to work to maintain that budget number. The estimate does include escalation, but it must be considered that the construction industry has here when they tore down that parking garage. So it is gone, and part of that plan was to, or that phase was to prep the site for the construction of phase 2. Next slide, please. So where are we right now? For those tuning in online, this is a shot of the construction as it sits. I believe this was taken yesterday. The building is going up. The steel has been completed, and as you can see, the stone-looking glass panels have started to be installed around the building. That work will continue for the next few months. What you don't see in this photograph is all the work that has been undertaken behind those tarps. We have interior trades that have done a massive amount of work. I have personally toured the building a number of times and am shocked at the amount of mechanical, plumbing, civil, carpentry work that has been completed at this point. That will accelerate when the enclosure system is fully completed to keep the elements completely out, and we can start with finish work, mill work, and that's all planned in the next year, again with a completion planned for mid-2025. I'd like to go through, next slide please, just a few renderings of what to expect, what we're looking at going forward, what some of the highlights of the building are. This is a view from Swede Street, looking, I believe it's east, at the finished product. It's noteworthy that the historic steps on the left side of the photo will remain in the final project, but they will no longer serve as a public entrance to the building. They will be reserved for ceremonial activity. The main entrance further down Swede Street towards the middle is where most of the public will access the building. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view, a rendering of what Hancock Park will look like after completion of the project. Hancock Park was a big factor in this project, and it is going from 40,000 square feet to almost 113,000 square feet. It is being regraded. It will be much more inviting. It will be a place for people to gather, to visit, to have programming at this site. All things that were not possible at the old location. So we are excited. Even if you look out at the construction site now, you can see that that grading has begun and is underway. Next slide, please. This is a view of the entrance from Swede Street. So that will be the main entrance where most of the circulation will begin. Next slide, please. This is a shot of the finished look of the enclosure. You can see that going up as we speak. It's a slow process, placing each one of these panels in place, but work is underway and it will be come together. I am told by the contractors that the process will speed up as they learn to place these panels in a more efficient manner moving forward. Next slide, please. Again, another shot of the entrance. Next slide. This is a really interesting and exciting component to the new building. This is the entranceway. If this is looking from the opposite direction of where you would enter, that's Swede Street looking through the glass. The existing courthouse building, the southern facing wall, exterior wall, will now serve as the interior wall of this interior vestibule welcoming area. This is where all the circulation will begin through the building. Next slide, please. I only show this slide, this exciting corridor shot, because a big part of the program to change the circulations, to change the layouts on the interior. I find Mr. Marlier's comments moving this morning, because that's a big part of what we were doing, is changing waiting rooms, changing circulation so that different groups do not need to be sitting in the hallway together awaiting some sort of uncomfortable situation. From the very beginning, through programming, through design, that was one of the goals of the project, was to create circulation that is better for operations, as well as circulation that was better for safety. So we are excited about that coming together, and even walking the building now in the construction phase, you can see those portions of the building coming together. Next slide, please. The cafe. It's another high point, a highlight. It is on the lower corner facing Main and Swede Street. It will have a lot of glass, a lot of natural light, all things that the old building lacked. Again, as an employee with the county for a long time, we lack a common meeting place where employees can come together and have lunch or plan something out, or a quick meeting. This will provide an opportunity for that. We have some ideas that aren't finalized yet to provide some really exciting artwork in these areas. We are in the process of talking to fresh artists to provide artwork provided by local high school students to fill these halls with color and art to make it an even more welcoming environment. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of one of the courtrooms. Most of them will look pretty similar within the new courthouse. Through the programming stage, one of the big asks was that the courtrooms be better set up for virtual and audio-visual technology. I have sat in with our designers from SOM and our court staff at this point to describe what's going in there, and it's quite impressive. It's going to be plug and play and just light years ahead of what we had to deal with in the old courtrooms when we wanted to bring a laptop in and put up a presentation. Every single element was designed to make it functional, efficient. So we're excited about the direction these courtrooms are going in. Next slide, please. Again, another shot of Hancock Park looking up. Another element of the building will be the monuments park. I don't have a photo of the rendering, but we did save all the monuments from surrounding the building prior. It's an important part of the history of Montgomery County and remembering the individuals that those monuments represent. So they were carefully removed, they were restored, and they will be placed in a monument garden in Hancock Park. Next slide, please. I'd like to talk very briefly about sustainability. It's tremendously important. I could go into all of some of the smaller details that makes the building more sustainable, but I really think the punchline is up there. We increased the building square footage from 187,000 square feet to 300. We had added 300,000 square feet, and we are using the same level of energy consumption on the final product. One, it shows just how inefficient the old building is, but it also shows that we are incorporating those new systems in the new Justice Center as well as the renovation of the existing courthouse. So in whole, the building will not serve as a additional pressure in terms of energy consumption. Next slide, please. Just finally, to close, I want to thank you for asking for this presentation today. I think it's tremendously important to have transparency with these projects. You understand that. That's why you asked us to put this on today. So the Department of A&I are proud of our projects, and we're always willing to come forward and give you the information that you demand to be transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm really excited that you're here today, and I know it's been a while since we've given the public an update on the Justice Center, so thank you for giving us a little bit of time in your busy day. And look, I wasn't here for the project charter, but I'm really excited to helping you and your team see the project through. I think it will really give Norristown, our county seat, the boost that it needs, and I'm glad that we were able to share the progress with the public. So we'll do this again so that we can have that level of transparency and the public can hear what's going on. So any questions, comments?
No, I mean, I want to thank you for the presentation as well. I think it's extremely important. I agree with Commissioner Wonder that we need to do this on a regular basis, on a quarterly or whatever makes sense as far as especially as we're looking at, the next year and a half when a lot of stuff is going to be happening now, especially once you get the building enclosed. So I look forward to seeing where we're at, getting an update, and hopefully with the weather now, we'll stay on target, stay on, I know there's always things that we can't control, but, real excited about what 2025 will look like, and look forward to being able to have a sandwich at the new cafe. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just say thanks, and I'm sure there are many staff who are waiting, obviously, for this to happen. I know our Pathonetary's windows are boarded up right now, and he can't wait to take those down. So.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we can clap for that. That's good.
Absolutely.
All right, next up is public comment, and that's for agenda items only.
Ann Harrington. But I'll do it anyway. I just want to make a comment on something that was mentioned before in regarding to thank you to servicemen. I believe somebody mentioned a similar, and women, a similar subject. I guess this is an announcement as well. March 23rd, which is a Saturday, Governor Josh Shapiro cannot attend because of religious obligations. But there's going to be a commendation gold medal award ceremony being presented at Valley Forge Park in the Hospitality Center. So I hope anybody or everybody can attend. If you want to know more, just ask me. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And so just a reminder, it's for agenda items only, okay? Who's up next? Ed Moy. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ed Moy, and thank you guys for the time that you allowed us to stand here and address you on certain issues involved in the county. Excuse me, I met you guys on the campaign trail in October. I'm sure you remember me.
Yeah.
I don't know about this guy, though. He's another story.
You are?
But I just have a comment, I guess, about the Mr. Marley, the prothonotary, as far as the PFA, being involved in that process. I'm retired from the state police, so you mentioned the state police. I had many occasions to assist mainly females, as he stated, with the PFA process. And my question is, and maybe this isn't a question for him, but so much for the sheriff's department or for Steele in the DA's office. Is there any help for the women, particularly when they get to court and they have to face their spouse? Because I found myself there, my first or second time having being involved in this, and the one spouse was trying to convince the other spouse to drop charges. The assistant DA approached me and informed me of this, and I made sure under no circumstances was this going to happen. So I put myself between him and her. But I'm wondering if it's who's going to handle that, or is that going to be handled as far as someone being there, maybe a sheriff's deputy, to help with that process, to make sure that these people are not intimidated when they do go in to get that final PFA from the judge.
Thank you for raising that, and certainly is Mr. Marley still here? He can talk a little bit about that, but I can tell you from just personal experience, I had to go get a PFA several years ago, and one of the things, I went through the process, filled out all the paperwork, and unfortunately, when it was time for me to go in front of the judge, like I stood outside of the courtroom and I was panicked the whole entire time that the person that I had had the petition against would come up the stairs and be there, right? So, fortunately, it was a family member dealing with mental health and addiction challenges, but still, right, as that person, I hear what you're saying, because I've felt that personally. So, is there anything, I know that the sheriff's deputies are there, right, but they're not like, they're just there. They're not like, you can tell someone at security, hey, can you walk me, can you stay with me? Because I know that's what I did, but like, what's the protocol there?
So I don't want to speak to the protocol of the sheriffs and security. I wouldn't want to do that, but I will say, first off, as a former district attorney, when not during PFA hearings, but during indirect criminal contempt hearings, the DA takes over. And the DA's office has a wonderful reputation for supporting victims and throughout all these kinds of hearings. Regarding specifically PFAs, the Women's Center has an office, an annex office that actually used to be part of the Prothonotary's office, and my predecessor allowed the Women's Center to use that space, and they've been using it ever since for years now. So the Women's Center of Montgomery County is right across from the room that I'm talking about, the PFA waiting room, right across from the hallway. They're there to assist folks going through this process. Laurel House will also assist. I believe you have, in the past, you've had an attorney, a legal representation that may be able to help. But also Victim Services in Montgomery County is an incredible resource, incredible. And so I would encourage people to look into Victim Services, the Women's Center, and Laurel House. I will also say that the sheriff's, I can't speak to this, the sheriff's department and our department goes through great lengths to ensure that when there's cross petitioners, sometimes when someone files a PFA, the other person files a PFA against them. So they're both in court, they're both plaintiffs, they're both defendants as well. So it creates a very tricky situation. This is a civil proceeding at this point, so it's the judge believes one, this much over the other, but until that process takes place, there's no facts on the record, and we're there for everyone that's coming to our office. But we go to great lengths to make sure that those parties are separated.
Okay.
Yep.
And I just want to add that I don't think it was covered in detail, but in a new courthouse, the way I understand the courtrooms are gonna be set up, in the past, everybody would be waiting in the hallway when their hearing was gonna come up, but now, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but the way it's gonna be set up is there's gonna be side rooms, and opposing parties would actually be ushered to those side rooms, and then and that's where they stay, until their hearing starts, and then they come in. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of courtroom and what type of hearing they're in. I think
Okay.
different courtrooms are set up for different type of operations. But generally, yes, but if there is a need, it will be set up that way.
Yeah.
Thank you for raising that. Thank you for being here.
Next up, David Morgan.
Good morning, I'm David Morgan from Ambler, and I commend the commissioners for increasing public comment. That's an agenda item. And I was glad, in fact, in last meeting though, when I was watching the recording, there was a problem at that first hour of the echoing going on, and then there was a comment at the end which had a blackout of the screen and all kinds of technical difficulties. So
Agenda items only. Open public comments at the end of the meeting. So this is if you have a question on an agenda item.
okay, well, I saw it as agenda. Okay, I just okay. But agenda would be the county campus plan, and that has caused I think a lot of our tax increases going up to 34% in 4 years. So I'm concerned about the tax implications. And this is so good to see all these slides. I like to see them on the website. I like to see how the line items of the budget coincide with the spending, because the spending amounts, first time I've ever seen them, the 92, let's see, it was 92 million at the end. It was 235 million in the second part, and the 9.4 million. How all that adds up, right? That's agenda, right? This county justice center. So the whole county campus plan is complicated because there's the courthouse refurbished, there's the this building, and there's also the new construction, plus Hancock Park has a cost. So all those costs I like to see clearly presented on the website for the taxpayers. And in terms of the bigness of that building, the size, I noticed another agenda item is the 18 West Erie Street building is dedicated to a public defender, and I was wondering, I was thinking, I mentioned about maybe the homeless people could use that building. Because we've lost this CHOC center in the Norristown Farm Park, so maybe that could be for those homeless people who could help clean up the areas in Norristown and including the parks, and maybe be as guides to places that are features of Norristown. So I'd like to mention that where could we go with the homeless? Are there other buildings? Maybe the PNC building could be used, I don't know, but that's a concern I have. So in terms of the spending, if we can find $30 million and have a tax cut, because we had 13%.
Yeah, you're getting off of agenda items now, sir.
Well, the county campus affects our taxes, and so I'm trying to find a tax cut in that.
You can finish at the end of the meeting if you have more general comments.
Yeah, ask them for that.
Okay.
Thanks very much,
Mr.
though, for.
Morgan. Next person.
Karen Brambelt.
Thank you. I'm Karen Bramblett. I live in Plymouth Meeting. I'm Chair of Plymouth Council. I'd like to speak on the agenda item brought to your attention by Pathanatari Malia. I want to thank him. Over a cup of coffee, talking about the Hope Cod, I'd read about it in a book. He took it and ran with it. It took 14 months from beginning to end to make that a reality. I think it's very important. I brought along he told you how big a PFA petition is, order is. This is a final order, 9 pages, on little sheets of paper, might last for 3 years, and somebody is expected to keep that and keep it in good condition. Not everybody has a glove compartment to put it in their car. Not everyone has a car. You know, not everybody is a woman with a big purse carrying that around. So I wanted to thank him for that, and I apologize for my accent if you're laughing at my accent. I am originally from Rhode Island, but I am now Plymouth Meeting in Montgomery County all the way. So he took a coffee conversation and he made it a reality. I did enjoy, my interest in this is, I'm a lawyer, and I serve as a volunteer child advocate through the Montgomery Child Advocacy Project. I am in PFA court a lot, and I represent children. So as tough as it is for adults to go in there and testify, I have little children who may have to get up and talk about what happened to them. So I hope, I don't know if Mr. King is still here, he is still here. When you're talking about, and Mr. Noy brought this up, and it's very important, right now when you are in PFA court with children, everybody is all there together and we're out in the hallways. We used to be out in the hallways over in the original courthouse. Now a lot of it is in courtroom 18 here in this building. And you know, with little children, when you think about the waiting rooms and for people to stay safe, the Sheriff's Department with the person that you're accusing. And as I said, some of these are little children, and they have to face in the courtroom. It's bad enough to have to face their accuser and talk about what happened to them. But to be waiting for an hour, 2 hours before you get in that courtroom and sit up there on that stand and talk about it. So I hope when you're looking at the waiting rooms for the PFA court, and I congratulate Mr. Malia for having the children's waiting room, which is very, very nice when you're doing your original PFA, but then you come back to court. And then everybody's all there together for the whole day. And maybe a children's waiting room might be a nice place there too, because it is very hard to find a place, you know, sitting on the windowsills or on the benches out in the hallways. So thank you, and thank you again, Pathanatary Malia. And I too can spell Pathanatary, but I have to say prothonotary in order to spell it. Thank you.
For being here, Karen.
All right, next up on Zoom, we have Deb Spence. Deb, can you hear us? Which is Adrian Seltzer. Adrian, can you hear us?
Sure, you can go ahead of me, I'm fine.
Adrian, you can go. We can hear you.
Can you hear Deb?
Adrian, you can go, and then Deb can go.
Okay.
Great. I'm always placed on the margin.
Oh, no, you're not, Deb. No, you're not. We couldn't hear you at first.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
All right. I want to compliment our prothonotary that I can pronounce, Noah Marlier, on the great work that his office is doing. And it brought, now, I'm not sure whether this goes now or later, but this just shows the need for more mental health services in the county. And I hope that, you know, if 20 people are coming in looking a day, looking for these protections from abuse, there's got to be more mental health services put together for priorities for the county. So that's just what I want to say. And thank you guys all for your service, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Adrian. Next, we can go to Deb. Deb, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. So wanted to talk about the agenda item for the PFA. And excuse me, I'll be very emotional because I brought my niece my Tai, I call her. She's an adult living with autism. She was raped last year at a facility in Montgomery County, and I, I tried to get it prosecuted, but there was a delay, so I had to go attempt to bring her to get a PFA. And I did speak to Attorney Marlier. He did try. You know, she's living with autism. She's an adult, so he did try to accommodate us, and I do appreciate that. But I couldn't bring her and hear that story and watch the person that did that to her, and um, there was no way we were going to be able to feel safe and be in the same place. Is there anything that can be done for people like my Tai, who is an adult living with autism? Is there anything that can be done to help that process along? And now with the online uh, application, that is super helpful. And I know, Commissioner Winder, you're very humble. I know you must have had, you know, a part in that. Like I do appreciate you, and I do appreciate you, normally. But is there anything that can be done to make those living with autism? Um, could there be another process? And that's my question for the PFA, a part of the agenda. Um, the other comment that I have for the agenda, the whole home repair program. I think that is a great program, but oftentimes those that need it never find out about it. So I do appreciate that there's going to be an effort to push for that. Um, in marginalized communities. We never hear about those things until when there's a entire waiting list of 4 or 5 years to get involved. It's not a new program. Philadelphia has been doing it. So I do appreciate you, Commissioner Winder, and Commissioner DeBello, for speaking up for those on the margins, speaking up for regular folk like us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb. On your point about your niece, I'm sorry to hear that that happened to her. We can certainly look into, just for those that are not only dealing with the PFA process, but may have a disability, what other resources are out there that they can avail themselves to, because that adds another layer of complexity. So thank you for raising that. And you're not in the room. There's a few people shaking their heads from the PFA team. Okay,
That was
is
the
that
last
it?
one.
Okay, great. Thank you for the public comments. So next we'll go to the approval of the minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 7th, 2024 minutes of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I'd like to invite Matt Edmond up to review the authorization to enter into a grant agreement with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission for the Regional Vision Zero Plan. And I'd ask that you be succinct for this portion.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
will. Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning to brief you on this. So when the bipartisan infrastructure law was created in 2021, there was a program in there called Safe Streets and Roads for All. The goal of that program, $5 billion program nationwide, is to improve safety on our roadways and to try to achieve the federal government's vision for zero deaths on our roads. So last year, DVRPC, which is our regional planning organization, our MPO, received a $1.47 million grant to do a regional safety action plan, or what they call a regional vision zero plan. And the point of this plan is to basically map out where our highest number of crashes are and some other factors too, and to basically come up with a document that has lines and dots on it that show where we need to make improvements. And so DVRPC wants to pass through $71,111 of this to Montgomery County, and it's the same amount to all the other 8 counties in the region, to allow us and to pay for us to help them in the preparation of this plan, to work with our municipalities, to communicate with them and from them, And so this action before you is to consider entering into the grant agreement for us as a county and as a planning commission to receive that $71,111.
Great, that was succinct, so thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1 as described by Mr. Matt Edmond. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Makija. Any board comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to invite Bill Hartman up for the authorization to enter into a trail easement agreement with Auto Properties Fort Washington LLC, and I'll ask you to do the same.
Well, Matt set the bar pretty high,
He
so
did,
I'll do my
so
best.
we'll start the clock.
Yes,
I'm
good
kidding,
morning.
I'm kidding.
Today, the Planning Commission is seeking your approval to formally accept and execute a trail easement for a future segment of the Cross County Trail in White Marsh Township. I'm going to zoom in on these maps, and I'll keep this as succinct as possible. Right now, you're looking at the primary trail network map, which I believe you have all seen, and I direct your attention to the Cross County Trail, which when fully built out will run approximately 17 miles from the Schuylkill River Trail in Conshohocken up to the Pennypack Trail in Bryn Athyn. Today, only about 3 miles of that trail is constructed, and you can see on this map on the right-hand side in the eastern part of the county, the Cross County Trails, that red line that's got a blue glow to it, and it's that bottom portion down along the river that's constructed those 3 miles. Next slide, please. The Planning Commission is working intensively to advance the development of the Cross County Trail. In fact, the entirety of it of the unbuilt portions of the trail are either under study in engineering or in construction. And you can see from this slide, this represents a lot of the projects that we're currently working on, whether they're in any of those different phases. One of the Cross County segments under study is the 1.3 mile long portion that will extend roughly between Skipback Pike and the Fort Washington SEPTA station on Pennsylvania Avenue in White Marsh Township, and that's the segment that's labeled CCT Bethlehem Pike, right on the middle of the slide on the left-hand slide. Next slide, please. We have internally named this segment the Cross County Trail Bethlehem Pike due to its alignment, which is planned to largely parallel Bethlehem Pike as it travels north to its ultimate connection with an existing portion of the Cross County Trail next to the Fort Washington SEPTA station. And that's the area that you can see in the red circle there. Skipback Pike is at the lower part of the circle, and you can see that green line as it winds its way up to the SEPTA station, which has a tiny little train next to it up at the top part of the circle. Next slide, please. Zooming in a little bit more, this is a slide from the feasibility study that we're about to wrap up, and that red line represents the preferred alignment for the Cross County Trail. On the left-hand side of the slide, it runs along Bethlehem Pike, then splits off, runs through state land, and then parallels the SEPTA train tracks. That's the long linear portion before it crosses underneath the tracks where Sandy Run runs underneath it, hangs a hard left, and goes up to where it will ultimately connect with the Cross County Trail, where that leader is off of that red box. That highlighted red portion is the segment that we're talking about today. Next slide, please. In the course of completing the advanced feasibility study for this portion of the trail, we engaged Auto Properties Fort Washington LLC, the owner and developer of a BMW car dealership along Pennsylvania Avenue. The study team had identified the BMW parcel then under land development review by the township and the Planning Commission as a potential property of interest for accommodating the Cross County Trail. Since Auto Properties Fort Washington was seeking land development approval for redevelopment of their property, the timing was perfect for the county to seek the dedication of a trail easement on this property necessary for the construction of this segment of the trail that will provide access to Fort Washington's SEPTA station before heading north through the Fort Washington Office Park. And this is a slide showing, and I direct your attention to the bottom, that red hatched area is the area that would be designated as a trail easement area. The BMW dealership, and the trail would run through that hatched area. Once it comes underneath the tracks at the bottom of the slide, takes that left I described earlier and heads to the left of the slide and ultimately leaves the BMW property and connects into the existing Cross County Trail. We've negotiated the terms of the trail easement with Auto Properties Fort Washington and created this exhibit that you're looking at now. And finally, the last slide. This easement is approximately 10,225 square feet in area and will accommodate a 12-foot wide, 430-foot plus or minus portion of the Cross County Trail. The cost of the trail easement is $1. Yvonne Montgomery of the Solicitor's Office, and Auto Properties Fort Washington have both reviewed the trail easement agreement, and both parties are comfortable with its terms. Thank you.
Well, it's pretty succinct.
I tried.
so-
I tried.
Okay, get a motion. Up, Commissioner's appointment to the Greater Valley Forge Transportation Management Association. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chair Jamila Winder of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners be appointed to the Greater Valley Forge Transportation Management Association to serve at the pleasure of the county commissioners. That's a mouthful. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, I'd like to invite Catherine Halen to review our personnel list.
Good morning, Commissioners. You should have in front of you the final copy of the Commissioners' Department's personnel list. It is a 3-page document dated February 21st, 2024, with a timestamp of 9:30 a.m. All positions have been reviewed and accounted for and are presented for your consideration.
Great, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 22nd, 2024 personnel presentation as given by Ms. Catherine Halen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? Hearing none, moving on to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I'd like to make a motion to approve the advertisement of bids and RFPs for Montgomery County on attached Exhibit A. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? Moving on to a vote. All in favor? Aye. You good? Okay. Motion carries. All right. Next up, I'd like to make a motion to, item J, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contracts, awards, amendments, and renewals for Montgomery County on attached Exhibit B, with the exception of number 14, which we are not voting on at this time. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Makija. Any board comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, going on to general public comment.
Reverend Arthur Herring.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. This matter is about guardianship corruption, Montgomery County Orphans Court.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
This public comment period is for public comment regarding matters that are germane to the county. The court system is governed separately by the courts and would not be germane to the Board of Commissioners. So if your comments are about the Orphans Court and guardianship matters in the courthouse, that should be directed to the courts or to the district attorney's office.
Well, as I would explain, myself and many others have been denied that by the district attorney's office, which involves the corruption of the district attorney's office.
That's not an issue for this board.
It pertains to Montgomery County.
But not to the commissioners.
Well, don't you approve money to the courts, to the DA's office and so forth?
We have no responsibility for the operation of the courts or the DA's office.
So I'm being denied the ability to let the people know what's going on in this courthouse pertaining to district attorney's office and the various court judges in the Orphans Court, which has been documented by a massive website called Shenanigans in the Montgomery County Court. It's on Facebook.
So we're going to give you the 3 minutes. We'll restart your clock. Go ahead and tell us what your concern is.
Thank you, ma'am. So I said this is about guardianship corruption in the orphans court. My name is Arthur. I cannot tell you my last name because I've been put in prison twice in the last 2 years by a judge in orphans court and the lawyer she assigned to my mother for exposing the guardianship corruption scam on my 99-year-old mother and the many other victims in orphans court for many decades. I've been threatened again with prison again for continuing to expose this corruption. For the past 3 years, my mother has been physically, financially, and mentally exploited by the corrupt judges, corrupt past and present, the corrupt guardians, and the corrupt lawyers assigned to my mother. The massive scam, corruption in orphans court, is where corrupt judges assign corrupt psychologists who give fake evaluations to claim the victim is incapacitated, so corrupt guardians, a person and a state, must be hired to care for the victim. The fact is, the corrupt judges, the corrupt guardians, their corrupt lawyers, and the victim's corrupt lawyer are all they do is make up fake invoices to steal the victim's money after they dump the victim in a low-rated nursing home to be drugged and caged until they die. Their homes are sold to a friend of the guardian at a very low price and then resold at full value. The profit is kept by these criminals. Guardianship corruption is nationwide and worldwide. This scam on my mother was started by my sister, as most of these scams are by a family member, just to get the money. About 2.5 years ago, my mother at 96 was dragged from her house by this corrupt guardian that the judge appointed and to be dumped in a tiny room until she dies. For about 2.5 years, my 99-year-old mother has been kept in a locked-in section of a low-rated nursing home in a tiny room in solitary confinement in a sensory-deprived environment. Not allowed to go outside into society, not allowed to go home to see her loved possessions of 99 years. She has been kept caged like a dog at an animal shelter. Mother's only issue was a little forgetfulness at age 96. She had no behavior, no mental, no medical, and no financial problems at all. She was seized only because of her vast assets. As a former criminal investigator of 41 years, I've uncovered massive information about this scam nationwide. I have picketed for 2 years, and D.A. Steele has seen my sign with his name on it and has taken my picture, but he refuses to do anything about it. His detectives refuse to call the many, many people who call them who want their cases open. The detectives have threatened me with prison if I try to open a case. The FBI has sent me an email last year that if I go to their office again about my mother's case, they will arrest me for trespassing. The FBI. They claim it is only a civil matter, not a criminal matter.
Thank you for your comments. Olivia Brady.
Good morning, Olivia Brady. I'm a resident of Norristown. At the last meeting, previous meeting, I stood here at the podium and asked you for the three of you to stand together on saving the prison so that our state representative and state senator can justify allocating a line item in their budget toward the preservation of this building. Without a united front from you all, that cannot happen. Therefore, I'm asking you to put forth a motion to voice your support in saving all or a portion of the original LeBrun section of the old Airy Street prison to explore an adaptive reuse that will enhance the county seat and provide a driver toward economic revitalization. Furthermore, I stand here today to ask you to withdraw the demolition permit and the HARB application. Both of the existing documents will change depending upon the outcome of the preservation of the structure for the RFI. I understand that the Planning Commission is currently working on background work that will enhance the success of the RFI prior to whatever comes from the RFI is going to be changed from your original intent for that building. So by withdrawing these documents that are currently in Norristown, you can put it up afresh. Finally, I wish to alert you to a public forum that the Friends of the Prison are going to be putting together in the middle of March. It's going to be based on historic preservation and how it can create a driver to economic development. So look for that in your mailboxes, as all of you will be invited to that. So we need to have your revitalization, that this preservation is sorely needed for the county seat that can provide a mechanism to remake our county seat to be the envy of other county seats. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I was under the impression that, or maybe I have this wrong, but what documents is she referring to that has to be pulled, or is she recommending that we pull?
Wait, can you answer?
The permit was filed with Norristown for the demolition of the site, and it was paused per the process we're going to undertake to release the RFI and receive responses back.
The permit was paused. So why aren't we pulling the permit? Why aren't we pulling that and then revisiting that after the RFI?
So we can maybe talk about that
Yeah, 'cause
offline
I'm
and
not-
get an
yeah.
update.
I need to get, I need to understand. I thought it was pulled.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
give an update, and, you know, the Friends of the Prison, as we move things forward, we'll be able to report out
Yeah.
what we're doing as a county. So thank you for being here. Who's up next?
Brian Jimenez.
Okay, I was gonna say. You can get up and say something. But, no, I'm kidding. Now, who's?
Ann Harrington.
You already did your?
Well, that's a $5 charge.
Okay. Well, you just gave us 3 minutes back. Thank you.
Next up, Ed Moy.
Been addressed, thank you.
Okay, great.
Peggy De La Sante.
It'll take us a little time getting used to the new public comment structure. So, thank you
Good
for.
morning. It's such a pleasure to be in such a friendly, warm atmosphere. I want to thank you for that. It's very welcoming here. My name is Peggy De La Sante. I'm a resident of Bridgeport and former owner of Main Changes Clothing for over 40 years on Main Street. I am here today in support of requesting a withdrawal of the HARB application to demo the prison. It seems that there is more time needed to remediate the building of hazardous material, secure the roof from years of neglect, and to prepare it for a suitable buyer. The 6-month extension is simply not enough time. The RFI alone will take longer. There needs to be sufficient time to find a suitable buyer, first of all, and then the time that it takes for a prospective buyer to perform their due diligence on the property and adjoining lot. So I urge you to withdraw the application that was presented to the HARB, and let's start afresh. I would also have a little bit of time. Mine was short today, but I'm a survivor of abuse myself, and I used to be a volunteer at the Laurel House, and I can tell you that what they do for the women and children that are fleeing horrible circumstances. I was on the other side with the intake and helping and you know, soothing the children, and I didn't know about Laurel House when I had my situation, but when I found out, I did become a volunteer, and at the time there was a woman there named Tommy who was in charge of that facility. So I'm very happy to hear that they're, you know, making so much progress. And I'm also a vocalist, and there's going to be an event called She Fest on April 28th. 15 female vocalists will be performing at Vinyl Closet Records, and a lot of those proceeds will be to help Laurel House. So I felt the need to mention this special event. And the female vocalists are the absolute most amazing singers in Montgomery County.
Thank
So
you for sharing.
I hope to see you there. It'll be fun.
Thank you. And
That's
thank
it.
you for sharing your personal story as well.
You're welcome.
And again, you know, as long as there's no duets, I'll definitely come by. But no, seriously, I thank you for the comments regarding the prison, and I'm curious now because I thought my understanding was a little different, so, but thank you for lifting that up as well, because I think I and understand, because you're right, I mean, it's going to take some time for the RFI to come together, and I think that there's many opportunities that could be envisioned on that whole parcel there that could include not only preserving the front part of the facility as well as developing out around it, and it could be a win-win for the community at large. So, and that's where I stand. I support that, and so I'm gonna talk with staff and get a better understanding of where we're at with that application with HARP and all that, because I thought that was pulled, but when I guess I misunderstood that back late, I guess in November, December of last year when that was paused, I guess is the right word now. Yeah, so I'm thank you for that, and I'm gonna ask questions after, so thank you.
Thank you. What's up next? Okay, next up, David Morgan.
David Morgan of Ambler. Regarding the thank you about the public comment extension, that's really great because I appreciate it a lot. And then maybe consider having an advance notice of the major points of these meetings, because there's so many major things happen today, such as PFAs, the Justice Center, so that maybe in the calendar we would have it rather than maybe the agenda the very night before, or the day before. It'd be good to maybe consider that. And if there's a technical problem, maybe have a transcript, if we can find a transcript of what was said, if we can't hear what was going on the recording for the videos. Now I want to also go into a life-saving great move that you did for the firefighters. I was not able to come because I'm a violinist and I was performing on Wednesday, so it was a Wednesday for seniors in a ministry. So regarding that, I know it's based on real estate apparently by the municipalities, a rebate on real estate taxes. And so I was originally proposing maybe just a flat amount for each firefighter, because some firefighters don't have real estate. So I think maybe what we can consider suggesting as a county is maybe having the fire companies develop apprentice programs, because the young firefighters who are starting out in life, don't have a large house and a lot of value, could maybe be financed by the company as a whole, and they can say, well, maybe some of these, getting the rebates could give an award so that the fire company can attract those who can go up the ladders fast. People who can lift heavy loads quickly, like they just are in the Marine Corps or something like that. So to consider maybe a commendation of the county to the fire companies themselves to have the youngest ones be rewarded with some kind of a grant or stipend or something like that. And then the other point I was just going to mention in Black History Month related to saving lives like firefighters is a famous black physician, Dr. Mildred Jefferson, who was the first black woman to graduate from Harvard Medical School in 1951. She was very concerned about the unborn children, and she spoke with President Ronald Reagan and convinced him to have a pro-life outlook, to value the youngest. And he was impressed very much and wrote a book about such that, and was concerned about taking a human life that happens in abortion. So I think that it's really great that in this month when we think of love for Valentine's Day, love for the mother, love for the unborn child, to think of this great contribution, as we just noticed today with Dr. Boston, who was a great pioneer. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Ted Josie.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. First, I'd like to say, I'm Ted Josie, as you just heard. I'd like to say congratulations on your recent elections, and I wish you all the best as you move this great county forward. A few of us retirees from Montgomery County are here today to respectfully ask you, the new Board of Commissioners, if you would consider offering some kind of increase in the retired county's employees' pensions. While the group of us here retired in 2008, there are others who we are sure retired earlier and to date have not received any type of increase either. A factor in the decision to take the early retirement offer was based in part on the premise that we would receive periodic cost of living increases. We were told this at the meetings explaining the early retirement inclusions. While we can't verify when the last increase was offered by Montgomery County, the retirement board used to send out letters stating that they did annual assessments to determine if the retirement fund could afford a raise for the retirees. One of the last letters we received from the retirement manager was dated December 2018, which said in part, and I quote, "We have steadily increased our contributions. This puts our pension fund in a much healthier position than it has been in over a decade," end quote. The letter goes on to say that the retirement board meets regularly to review the financial state of the pension fund and the impact of the cost of living increase to it. That was 5 years ago, and as far as I know, we have not heard from the manager since then concerning the financial status. We did check with some of the surrounding counties and learned that they do periodic assessments of their retirement funds with the goal of offering their retirees some type of increase. However, because of time constraints, the 3 minutes, we did not include the details of our discoveries in this letter. In closing, I think we can all agree that the cost of living today is significantly higher than what it was 15 years ago. And so it is reasonable and understandable for us to make this respectful request of the commissioners. Thank you in advance for your considerations, and please feel free to contact us with questions, or if you have questions now, we can try and answer them.
So thank you for coming. So what did you do for the county? Remind us.
I was the Director of Youth Services for Montgomery County. I work for Economic and Workforce Development.
Director of Youth Services. And sir, what did you do for the county?
I was the fiscal officer for Economic and Workforce Development.
Okay, and ma'am?
My name's Pat here. I was the training manager.
Very,
The same office for 31 years.
very good. And sir?
I worked for this gentleman here. Over a number of years.
Got it, okay. Well, listen, you've brought this to my attention before, and it's something that we've talked about as a team, and something that we're open to considering. So I just want to put that out there. We can't make any commitments, but you know what I want to say is we recognize the dedication that our retirees and service to this great county, and we stand on your shoulders. Those that are working here now stand on your shoulders. And I recognize that as seniors, the cost of living these days is quite challenging, especially for our seniors. And so I want to acknowledge and honor the fact that I understand your requests, and I'm empathetic to that. And so if you wouldn't mind, if you want to leave your comments with our board secretary, and if you do have research about what other counties are doing that we weren't able to review today, you can certainly email that to us so we can take a further look at it. Okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank
Thank you for your time.
I mean, I've heard this too multiple times, and you know, the cost of living, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, has gone really off the charts. So I know that the commissioners, the previous commissioners over the last few years have done a really good job of having a plan in place to have the pension fully funded, which is a good thing. So as we proceed forward, and I've actually brought this up, so I'm looking forward to our upcoming meetings as well, to have further conversation around the retirement board meetings that we sit on, having further conversations around looking at those cost of living raises as well. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Suzanne Brewer.
Okay. Oh, Suzanne, what did you do for the county?
I worked at domestic relations for 25 years in intake.
Okay. All right. Did I miss anybody else? No? Okay. Thank you for being here.
Next up, we'll move on to our Zoom folks, and we have Jeanne White.
Hi, this is Jean White from Montgomery. As a Montco taxpayer, I've been trying to evaluate, one, is there transparency to the Montco taxpayers on the Montco voter roll maintenance? Two, does a standard operating procedure for the maintenance of our Montco voter rolls exist? And three, as the taxpayers are funding this endeavor, how can taxpayers gain access to actually ascertain that all the those voters annually or every 5 years who qualify for removal letters receive a communication. After submitting a right-to-know request with Solicitor John Marlott and a request voter record form to the Monco Voter Services, I was able to uncover, 1, there is no standard operating procedure, as I was not provided one. 2, there are 2 removal dates, 1 annual communication if a voter exists on the USPS change of address database, likely in the June timeframe each year, and the other 5-year communication for inactive voters. The next date, I was told, is January 2028. 3, I obtained 5 different form letters utilized for the different types of USP change of address database removals, like you moved out of state, out of county, or remained in county, and the inactive letters every 5 years. Voter Services told me, quote, "There's no report we can run in our system that tracks who receives these letters. I can tell you that our ERIC letters were sent out June 21st, 2023, and the 5-year notice is January 4th, 2023. All these programs are run annually," unquote. In order for complete taxpayer transparency, it is obvious the voters who actually receive these letters annually or every 5 years is missing, and no report or stack of letters for viewing by the public exists. In order to verify that every voter who is eligible to be removed is sent a letter, taxpayers need a report or the ability to view the letters sent on file. This is missing, and so in my estimation, Monco has not provided complete taxpayer transparency as a check and balance of power as afforded to citizens in the U.S. and Pennsylvania constitutions. I sent each of you an email summarizing my endeavor. Can you comment on how you would improve the taxpayers' lack of transparency on this important voter roll maintenance matter? Who gets into office is hinged on how clean our Monco voter rolls are. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Next, we have Marlene Laska.
Okay, who's next?
Hold on, I just unmuted myself.
That's okay, go ahead.
Okay, Marlene Laska from Upper Providence Township. And first, I totally agree with Jean White that we need the transparency and that a report needs to be produced. However, my comments, first is just a reminder that I made a comment at the first of schedule to be at least to frame the date and time when anticipated meetings will be happening. We do have proposals that we want to present to the board, to the election board, and not having a schedule makes it difficult to plan such a presentation. We have to constantly keep checking for when a board of election meeting will happen, which is, what is even more difficult is that some meetings, like the 1st of February, only gave a 24-hour notice. So again, please time frame when the board of election meetings will be happening, please. Okay, second, I want to get in early the comment that Monco should be like Chester County in California and the city of Huntington Beach, also in California. Monco should take the lead in not having a month-long celebration of Pride in June of this year, i.e. Monco should reject the proclamation, proclamation of June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. We are a society of immigrants. All 4 of my grandparents immigrated here in the early 1900s. There are so many cultures and types of people in this society that giving preference to one class is the same as ostracizing all the other classes with a message that you don't matter. In fact, the more inclusive Montauk tries to become, the more the county alienates other parts of the population. We should have a melting pot month or an immigrant month, not a pride month. The ban should be on any celebrations or any county-owned properties, including libraries, and ban social media posts from announcing the month, and the pride flag should not be flown on any county property. As an aside, so glad to see the improvements to the PFFA program. Kudos for such great ideas. I would also support a program, however, that identifies why there's so much abuse happening. 20 a day is mind-boggling.
Your time is
We
up,
need
ma'am.
to understand.
All right, so I just want to make a quick comment about Pride Month. So I want to make sure that we have a Montgomery County that is inclusive of everyone. And so I just want to publicly stand up for my friends and neighbors that identify as LGBTQ+. They have been historically marginalized, they've been targeted, and so you don't have to agree on celebrating the month, but I want to make sure that we respect our friends and neighbors that identify with that community. So, next comment.
The last person is Deb Spence.
Thank you so much. I wanted to finish my comments. 3 minutes, it goes by so quick. So I'm going to talk really fast. I want to thank Natasha Rivera from Victim Services, who goes with my family to court with my tie. She actually given me a flicker toy so that I can ease my nerves because that is an awful experience. My niece doesn't need it, so I guess it's questionable about who is actually disabled, but I need it, and I appreciate her so much for calling, checking on us, even just to say there's no movement and checking to see if we're okay. Appreciate it. Next comment is about the fire department tax rebate credit. I wanted to know, I applied, and I'm so happy my Pottstown Goodwill Fire Department reached out to me immediately with the application so I can move forward in the process. But I wanted to know if your spouse is on the deed, and if you're not on the deed, if that credit still applies, or does my spouse have to apply? And spouse, yes, I am proud to say that I am gay and I am married to a woman, and so happy for Pride Month because I'm gonna be out there flicking my flag, and whoever doesn't like it, so what? And my next comment is about um the building, the jail. Like, who wants to celebrate in the Black History Month? Yes, Black History Month continues to be celebrated because we were brought here 400 years ago to toll this land as slaves. But anyway, I see a 45-second warning, 30-second warning. I want to geez, I forgot my comment. Oh man, I forgot. I give up. I quit. I don't remember what else I was trying to say. That warning is like it's frustrating. I think I was trying to say something about the building not recognizing the brutality that goes along with incarceration. It's inequitable. It's not even. It's not a fair process. So when you go back there, Commissioner Develop, and look in your records and check this and check that, why don't you sit in front of Black families, children that have suffered from the incarceration system, separated their families like they did in slavery period, and see how that is going to impact them for generations to come? Because
Your time is
when
up,
you
ma'am.
go back and you check
Your
that,
time is up. We'll follow up with that one question that you had about the tax rebate. Thank you. Is that it? Great. Any closing commissioner comments?
I just got a couple real quick ones. One is, we have to get the sound system working. You know, this is.
We will, yep, we'll
Yeah,
talk
this-
about that.
Yeah, this is
With
not
the team after.
acceptable, right. The other thing is that, I did want to talk about the water basin flood, but I'll save that. I just wanted to point out that I've been getting calls that there's been articles that have been written about the possibility of the county having vehicles driving around, bringing ballots that were mailed in that need to be corrected. I know that as individuals, we can make comments and all that, but when I start seeing articles where it's referring to commissioners, I have a real issue with that, because I'm not, other than what I've read in the newspaper, I haven't been brought up to speed on any of this. And one of the articles referred to that the county's already looking at figuring out expenses and everything else. I'm not aware of that being discussed anywhere. I'm not aware of that being discussed at this table or the election board table. Just based on what was written in the articles, I raised up about 12 major issues with what is being proposed. So I just want to be careful that if we're talking, that we're not talking for three of us, we're only talking for one of us, because I will not, and I'll go on record now, as what's been proposed, in my reading, I will not support this initiative at all.
Thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments?
We can talk about that in the election board, but I have not spoken on behalf of any other commissioner.
I'm just saying what articles have been written, that's all I'm going by.
That's fine.
Right.
We'll talk about it in the election board. But my only comment is, I just wanted to say that we actually approved a significant contract. I don't know if anyone talked about the eviction prevention
No, we
on
didn't.
that. No, just, it's significant. It could be up to $3 million depending on the services provided, but it's to the YWCA Tri-County area of Pottstown, and it's for eviction prevention work. So we were all three of us were at the Pottstown Progress Luncheon put on by their chamber and by the Economic Development organization, and I think that was the first time all three commissioners were in Pottstown for that occasion, and it's really an example of our commitment to the entirety of the county, so just wanted to note that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So announcing the upcoming meeting dates, we're going to have the retirement board meeting today at 1 p.m. in the boardroom. And the next Board of Commissioners meeting will be Thursday, March 7th at 10 a.m. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the February 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comment? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Welcome our controller up for salary board. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right. Do we have any public comment for salary board?
No public comment.
No public comment. All right. I'd like to invite our esteemed HR leader up to review the salary board list.
Good morning, members of the salary board. You should have in front of you the final copy of the salary board list. It is a 3-page document dated February 21st, 2024, with a timestamp of 9:30 a.m. All positions have been reviewed and accounted for and are presented for the salary board's consideration.
Great, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 22nd, 2024 salary board presentation as given by Ms. Catherine Halen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the February 22nd, you're finished, February 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Salary Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeBello. Any board comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Don't leave before the vote. Motion carries.